Morning crept gently across the skyline of Manila, painting the clouds in hues of gold and rose. The city below was already awake, jeepneys rattling down narrow streets, the scent of fried rice drifting from small food stalls, and the laughter of children echoing between old apartment blocks. Amid that noise, above it all, stood a quiet rooftop, cracked, sun-worn, yet sacred in its own way. This was where Leah Santos, 17, often came to breathe. Her voice, soft and unassuming, would drift into the dawn like a whisper carried by the wind. She sang not for an audience, but for the sky itself, as if every sunrise could listen, could remember. Beside her sat Raphael, her older brother. 19, strong in shoulders but gentle in soul. He strummed a battered guitar, its strings held together with bits of tape, yet its sound was warm, filled with stories of every corner they had sung in. He wasn't a man of many words, instead, he let music speak for him. Together, they sang songs their mother had taught them, melodies of hope, woven from love and struggle. From that rooftop, they could see the world, the rusted roofs, the tall buildings that seemed unreachable, and beyond that, the endless horizon that called to them both. For Leah, the music was freedom. For Raphael, it was a promise, that someday, their voices would carry them beyond the city lights, beyond poverty, beyond the limits of where they were born. The morning wind brushed against their faces as if blessing them. Birds flew above, scattering into the golden sky, and for a moment, everything felt possible. No one watching that rooftop would have guessed that these two, barefoot, with voices carried on the wind, would soon stand on one of the world's grandest stages. But dreams, like songs, often begin softly. Just a whisper. Just a hope. And that hope, carried by two siblings who sang to the sunrise, was about to change their lives forever. Evening settled over the small apartment like a slow sigh. The city outside roared with life, car horns, vendors shouting, laughter spilling from nearby karaoke bars, but inside the Santos home, there was only the quiet hum of a tired fan and the sound of hope trying to stay alive. The walls were thin, their paint cracked and peeling like old paper. A single bulb flickered above the table where Raphael counted a few worn bills, his fingers trembling slightly. Across from him, Leah watched their mother, Elena, resting on a small cot by the window. Her breathing was shallow, but her face still carried that familiar calm, the kind that mothers wear when they try to protect their children from worry. For months, Elena had grown weaker. The long days at the laundry shop had taken their toll, and now hospital visits were becoming part of their routine. Every medicine bottle came with a price, and every price came with a choice. Raphael had once dreamed of finishing school, of becoming a teacher, but he set that dream aside quietly, like placing a book back on a dusty shelf. He found odd jobs instead, carrying boxes, delivering goods, anything that could keep their mother's medicine drawer from going empty. Leah sang at small cafes when she could. The lights there were dim, the microphones old, but every song she sang was a prayer wrapped in melody, not for applause, but for another day their mother could smile. Sometimes, when she earned a little more, she'd buy Raphael a bread roll on her way home. They'd share it in silence, pretending it was a feast. There were nights when Raphael would climb back to the rooftop, guitar in hand, staring at the skyline while the city lights blinked like distant stars. He wondered how far dreams could travel from a place like this. Yet even in the heaviness of those days, one truth remained, their voices were still together. Their harmony was fragile, but unbroken. And somewhere within the cracks of their struggle, music continued to bloom. Weeks turned into months, and hope began to move quietly through the Santos home again, this time in the form of a message on an old phone screen. It was an email, short and unbelievable. Congratulations. You have been selected to audition for America's Got Talent 2025. For a long moment, no one spoke. The words seemed too large to belong in their small kitchen. Leah read the message again and again, her heart pounding in disbelief. Raphael stood still, as if afraid that one wrong move might make the dream disappear. That night, they packed their few belongings, a guitar, a small notebook of songs, and a single photograph of their mother smiling between them. Elena watched with tears in her eyes, whispering blessings under her breath. Though she couldn't travel, her faith carried them both farther than any airplane ever could. The journey to Los Angeles was long, stitched together with airport announcements, sleepless hours, and quiet prayers whispered between clouds. From the airplane window, Leah gazed at the ocean stretching endlessly below, a mirror of everything they were leaving behind, and everything they were about to face. When they arrived at the audition venue, the world felt overwhelming. The building shimmered with lights, banners, and laughter that echoed from every corner. Performers from all over the world waited their turn, dancers stretching, magicians rehearsing tricks, singers humming to themselves. Raphael held Leah's hand tightly. The familiar warmth steadied them both. Around them, voices rose and fell in excitement, but their hearts were calm. They had not come for fame. They had come for faith, for the small girl who once sang to the sky and the boy who promised her that one day, the world would listen. As they stepped closer to the stage entrance, the noise faded into silence. The lights glowed brighter. The curtain separated the ordinary from the extraordinary. And for the first time, as Leah looked at Raphael, she realized, this was no longer a dream whispered to the wind. It was happening. Right now. The rooftop children of Manila were about to stand beneath a golden light. The stage was vast, an ocean of light and silence. Beyond its edge stretched a crowd of faces, their expressions hidden beneath the soft glow of anticipation. Cameras shifted, lights adjusted, and somewhere in the distance, a single breath echoed like thunder. Leah stood in the center, a small figure beneath the towering beams of gold and blue. Her heart drummed so loudly she could almost hear it through her microphone. Beside her, Raphael tightened his grip on the guitar, the same battered one that had survived every rooftop, every cafe, every night of doubt. They exchanged one glance, no words, just a quiet understanding. This was for their mother. For every sunrise they had sung to when no one was listening. Then, Raphael strummed the first chord. The sound was soft, trembling, but pure. It rippled through the air like the first drop of rain before a storm. Leah's voice followed, gentle at first, a whisper of longing that filled the silent hall. The song, half in English and half in Filipino, carried the weight of their story. It spoke of love that endures through poverty, of dreams that refuse to die, of promises made in the dark that find light again. As her voice rose, Raphael joined in harmony. Their tones blended perfectly, like two rivers meeting in one current. The audience leaned forward, spellbound. Even the judges, known for their steel and scrutiny, softened in their seats. By the time the final note trembled in the air, the hall had fallen completely still. No one clapped yet. No one breathed. The silence was sacred. Then, a single light flickered, the golden buzzer. Gold confetti burst from above, showering the siblings in a storm of light. The crowd erupted in cheers, tears glinting in countless eyes. Leah's knees gave way as Raphael caught her, both crying into each other's arms. They had sung their truth, not polished, not perfect, but real. And that truth had reached the world. In that moment, time stopped. Manila rooftops, cracked walls, sleepless nights, all of it dissolved into a single golden glow. They hadn't just sung a song. They had made history. The cheers still echoed in their ears long after the lights dimmed. Gold confetti clung to their hair, their clothes, their skin, tiny fragments of a dream that had somehow come true. Backstage, everything felt slower, softer. The adrenaline had faded, leaving only the sound of their breaths and the faint hum of celebration around them. Leah sat on a small bench, her voice trembling as she laughed through tears. Raphael placed his guitar beside her, the same worn instrument that had carried them across oceans. It seemed almost unreal, that something so ordinary, so fragile, had brought them here. A few feet away, a television screen replayed their performance. The camera zoomed in on their faces, the tears, the confetti, the light. Simon's words from moments ago played again, his tone filled with awe and disbelief. But neither Leah nor Raphael could hear it now. Their thoughts were somewhere else, home. In a hospital room thousands of miles away, Elena Santos sat up in bed, her eyes shining as the screen before her glowed. The nurses stood behind her, smiling quietly as the golden rain fell on her children. She pressed her hand against the image, as if she could touch them through the glass. Her lips moved in a silent prayer, not for fame or fortune, but for gratitude. For every hardship that hadn't broken them, for every song that had healed them. That night, as the world replayed their performance millions of times, the siblings walked out into the cool Los Angeles air. The city lights shimmered, distant yet familiar, like stars reflected on the rooftops of Manila. Raphael looked up, feeling the same breeze that used to brush against their faces back home. Leah closed her eyes and smiled. For the first time, their dream wasn't a whisper carried by the wind, it was a voice heard around the world. They had not only sung for themselves. They had sung for every child who ever believed that love could lift them higher than fear. And in that golden glow, the siblings from a humble rooftop had written their names, not in fame, but in history.